Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dinesh Kalyansundaram from IIT Delhi. Today we are going to talk on matrices and types of matrices under the paper Foundations of Biophysics. After completing this module, you should be able to learn about scalar, vector and matrices. Matrix algebra is necessary to understand the physics of a problem, and many quantities in nature are directionally dependent and tensorial in nature.
The content of today's class is we're going to see on the basics of operations and vectors and matrices. Second is we are going to understand what is a rank and existence of a solution. Third is we are going to see what is the inverse of a matrix and what are determinants. Fourth, we will look at eigenvalues and eigenvectors.
History of matrix algebra. Matrix algebra has a very long history. Okay. Matrices were used for solving linear equations, but they were known as arrays until 1800s. The Chinese text with the title The 9 Chapters on Mathematical Art, written between 10th and 2nd century BCE, is the first example of the use of array methods to solve simultaneous equations. In 1545, an Italian mathematician, Girolamo Cardano, brought the method to Europe. The Japanese mathematician Seki used array methods to solve equations until 1683. Matrix algebra, what it is? Matrix algebra means making calculations upon arrays of numbers or data. Most data sets are matrix type. Matrix algebra makes mathematical expression and computation easier. It allows you to get rid of cumbersome notation, concentrate on the concepts involved, and understand where your results come from.
So the definitions. What is a scalar? A scalar is a number. For example, 1 or 22 is a number. So that is a scalar. So even 1.2 or 1.3 or 1 by 3, everything is going to be a scalar. A scalar is something which does not have a direction, or it is not a particular set. Like for example, a vector. A vector is a single row or column of numbers denoted by bold small letters. It is not shown here as bold, but a typical book will show it as a bold small letters. The column vector is the one which is arranged vertically. For example, like a column of a building. And we have given the variable a, and the column vector is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then there is a row vector. The row vector is when it is arranged horizontally. So for example, you stand in a line in the prayer hall. So that is like a row vector. You cannot stand on top of each other. Then it will become a column vector. Then the third form is the matrices. A matrix is an array of numbers. Generally, it is denoted by a capital bold letter, not a small letter. Generally, it is caps. All the matrices have an order or dimension. So the dimension is mentioned as first is number of rows into number of columns. So this into is only a symbolic into or a multiplication symbol like x. It is not a product symbol. So for example, the matrix given below, where you see A11, A12, A13, and A21, A22, A23. These all form a single matrix. A11, the first subscript 1 stands for the row, the second subscript 1 stands for the column. So the leftmost top corner is going to be A11. The next to the right is going to be A12. That means it's in the first row and second column. Similarly, you go with, so it's always row, comma, column. So you have to remember the word RC, row, comma, column. So all matrices will first indicate rows, second it will indicate columns. So this is a 2-row and a 3-column matrix. What is a square matrix? That's what we will see now. A square matrix is a matrix that has the same number of rows and columns. For example, n is the number of rows, and then the column will also be the same number n. Remember, n is an integer because you can only have integer number of rows or integer number of columns. We cannot have 1.2 rows. It has to be a complete set. And two matrices are equal if and only if they have the same number of rows and the same number of columns, and their corresponding elements are also equal. For example, we take A matrix 5, 15, 20, 35, and if you have another matrix A which is 5, 15, 20, 35, 0, 0, 0, 0, then both of them are not equal, because we need to also make sure the columns are also equal and the rows are also equal. Even if it has a 0 in it, it will still increase the size of the matrix, so they will not be equal. So it is not only the scalar we have to see, the whole vector also we have to see. Matrix addition and subtraction. Two matrices may be added or subtracted only if they are of the same order. For multiplication, this is not the rule, so we will come to the multiplication separately. For addition and subtraction, this is the rule. So two matrices are given, A11, A12, A21, A22, and similarly for B. So the way we add to C is a simple straightforward addition. The numbers in a particular row and a column, it is added to the same position number in the second matrix. So A11 will always get added to B11, and that will form C11. And A32, for example, will get added to B32, and that is written as C32.
Matrix multiplication. To multiply a scalar times a matrix, simply multiply each element of the matrix by the scalar quantity. Suppose you have a scalar k and that has to be multiplied with the matrix. So all you have to do is multiply each individual component of the matrix by constant k. In order to multiply matrices, they must be conformal. That means we are here talking about not multiplying a scalar but multiplying two different matrices, let us say A and B, right? When we say conformal, that means one of the dimensions of A should be conformal to the other dimension of B. That means A has a row which is m number of rows and n number of columns. The n number of columns should be the same as n number of rows in the matrix B. Then we can multiply A and B, right? So which will give a matrix C which will have the dimensions m cross P, which means m rows and P columns, right? But if you reverse the same matrix, if you multiply B into A, which will yield us m into n or m rows by n columns into P rows and n columns, then this cannot be done. So order of multiplication is important in matrix multiplication. And if you multiply a one row by n columns versus n rows by one column, it will give you a scalar which is just a one quantity, which is just having one row and one column.
Thus, we can say for matrix A written as A11, A12, A13, so on up to A33, multiplied with a matrix B11, B12 up to B32. Now we have to see what is the final matrix C11, C12 up to C32. As you know, this is a 3 by 3 matrix A multiplied by a 3 rows by 2 columns. So the 3 and 3 matches. Then those two are eliminated. So it will become a 3 into 2. And that is why the C matrix is a 3 by 2 matrix. There will be 3 rows and 2 columns. Now let us see where is C11 coming from. C11 will be A11 into B11 plus A12 into B21 plus A13 into B31. What is that we are doing? We are taking the first row of the first matrix that is A11, A12, A13, and multiplying with the first column of the second matrix, that is B11, B21, and B31. So if you multiply, so you always have to remember the perpendicular row. So we go row and then multiply with the column, then we get that particular row comma column. If we take the first row and multiply with the second column, then we will get the first row second column number, that is the C12. So for C12, all you have to do is take the first row A11, A12, A13, multiply with B12 and B22 and B32. Then you will get the C12. So similarly for every row and column, when you multiply, that intersecting number, that is where you have to punch the product sum. For example, we take the number, we want to find out the number C32, or let us say C31, for example. C31 is a junction between third row of and then first column. Right? So what we have to do is multiply A31 into B11, then A32 into B21, and A33 into B31. So then we will get C31. Okay. Similarly, you have to do different things. Once you start getting practice, this will be a piece of cake. Then we'll see what are the properties of matrix multiplication. In matrix multiplication, A into B does not necessarily equal to B into A until the numbers are equal and stuff. So we'll not go into those, but we will always assume it need not be equal, because like you said, for example, A into B, let's say A is a 2 into 3, 2 by 3 matrix, and B is a 3 by 2 matrix. C will become a 2 by 2 matrix. But if you take B into A, so B matrix is 3 by 2, and A is 2 by 3 matrix. So that will eventually give out D, which is a 3 by 3 matrix. So clearly you can see C and D are completely different matrices. Right? When the size is different, it doesn't matter even if the numbers are equal, the matrices are different. And matrix multiplication is associative, which means when we are multiplying with one more matrix, let us say A into B into C, then it doesn't matter whether you first multiply A into B or B into C, it will always give the combination. But it's not right if you are multiplying 4 matrices. Right? So we will go only up to 3 level matrices for now. Then multiply, and how do we take transpose? In the transpose, what is the rule? In the transpose, after multiplying A into B, and we take a transpose which is indicated by a dash, and this is not a differentiation, this is only a transpose. So you will have to understand in the matrix what a dash means and what a differentiation means. So here we are only talking about transpose. So that will be equal to, as if we took the B transpose first and then multiplied with A transpose. Because you will find out later it is easy to do B transpose into A transpose. Transpose of a matrix. What is a transpose of a matrix? A transpose of a matrix, let us say a matrix A is given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 3, 6, 9. So I have read the rows first. Right? Then the A transpose will be whatever was the row will become the column, and whatever was the column will become the row. Right? So 1, 4, 3 was a column earlier. Now 1, 4, 3 is a row. 2, 6, 6 was a column. Now 2, 6, 6 is a row. So this change is called a transpose. Then we have to understand what is a symmetric matrix and what is a skew symmetric matrix. For example, let us take a matrix B. If we take a transpose, and after taking the transpose, if both of them look the same, then it's a symmetric matrix. That means on top of the diagonal line here is 1, 6, 9. On top of the diagonal line, if the numbers are like a mirror image, then it's a symmetric matrix. What is a skew symmetric matrix? Skew symmetric is nothing but it will look similar numerical wise, but only the sign will change. For example, C and C transpose, over the diagonal line. So the mirror image of 238, right? Now it is only if you have to multiply that minus 2 with a minus sign, then we can just see that we are getting the matrix, right? So this is a skew matrix.
Special matrices. What is a special matrix? There are a few types of special matrices. First is a diagonal matrix. Diagonal matrix is nothing but in the whole matrix there are only the diagonal numbers or attributes which are non-zero, remaining all entities are zero. A null matrix is just a square matrix where all elements are zero, right? And what is an identity matrix? An identity matrix is another form of diagonal matrix, and here the diagonal elements are just number 1. So whatever you will multiply with a diagonal identity matrix, you will get the same matrix. For example, if you multiply A into an identity matrix, you will get again A. Like you see on the screen, an identity matrix is just 1, 1, 1 on the diagonal with zeros on all other elements. A null matrix is 0 throughout all the matrix. A diagonal matrix is same as identical matrix. Here the diagonal is not just 1, but it can be any numeral, right? A11, A22, A22, A33, A44, any number, but the off diagonal are 0. When do we call a matrix symmetric? If the transpose of the matrix is same as the matrix itself, then we call it a symmetric. A skew symmetric matrix is, it is similar, but you have to have a different sign. It becomes positive or negative. So A transpose is minus of the A matrix. It has a negative sign. Then it is called as a skew matrix, skew symmetrical matrix. An orthogonal matrix is one whose transpose is equal to its inverse. Determinant of a matrix. The determinant of a matrix is denoted by two straight lines written on either side of A, right? This is called as determinant A. Determinants exist only for square matrices. This is very important concept. Please remember that determinants exist only for square matrices. The determinant is a matrix characteristic, and also they are a little bit cumbersome or difficult to compute. If a matrix A has 4 elements, so this is a 2 by 2 matrix containing A11, A12, A21 and A22. These are different numbers, parameters representing different numbers. Then the determinant of the matrix A is given by multiplying the diagonal elements A11 into A22 and subtracting from the off diagonal multiplicants, that is minus A12 into A21.
Properties of determinants. What is the property of determinants? The determinant of a matrix A and the determinant of matrix of A transpose, both are same. If a row or a column of matrix A is equal to 0, that is a complete row, then the determinant is 0. If every value in a row are multiplied by k, then the determinant of A is k times A determinant. So you can always take the common factor out and then calculate the determinant. If two rows or columns are interchanged, the sign, but not value of determinant changes. If two rows of columns are identical, then determinant A is 0. If two rows or columns are linear combination of each other, for example, one is twice of the other or thrice of the other, then the determinant is 0. Determinant A remains unchanged if each element of a row or each element multiplied by a constant is added to any other row. Now we find out what I mean. Determinant of the product AB will become equivalent to taking determinant of the matrix A first, then, so now it's a scalar, then you multiply with the determinant B, then it's again a scalar. Determinant of diagonal matrix is very easy, just multiply the diagonal elements. A rank of a matrix. The rank of a matrix is defined as rank A, which is equal to the number of linearly independent rows, and that will be equal to the number of linearly independent columns. So if there is a matrix which is n by p, let us assume p is the smallest number, then the rank is p, the maximum rank possible. So we can say in general, the maximum possible rank is the minimum number of the size n into p. Now, what is linearly dependent? What is linearly independent? Suppose let us assume there is a matrix A, which is 1 is 1, 21, 12. Then there is a matrix B, 1 by 3, 7, 4. By dividing A by 3, you can actually get B. So then they become linearly dependent. Now here, A and B are the two rows of a particular vector, a particular matrix. Then these two rows are linearly dependent on each other. So these two rows will be cancelled out. So if it's a 3 by 3 matrix, and two of the rows are like this, so they will get cancelled out. So then the rank will become only one row will be remaining. So then what is the rank? We have to see the number of linearly independent rows and columns. So any number will become always a number dependent on each other. Then the rank of that matrix will become 0. Inverse of a matrix. For inverse of a matrix, n by n, matrix A, there may be a matrix B such that it will always modify the matrix A, and then it will always end up into the identity matrix I. So we can always find this matrix. The inverse is analogous to a reciprocal in a general fraction term. A matrix which has a singular, which has an inverse, is non-singular. That means it is not zero, because when we take a reciprocal, if the determinant is 0, then we will become singular solution. Singular solution is no solution exists. That is called a singular solution. We need a non-singular determinant, then only we can make the inverse of a matrix. Properties of inverse. For example, a matrix 2 by 2, A by A, B, C, D, and assume, let us say that determinant A is not equal to 0, then the definition of A inverse is 1 by determinant of A, and then D. So you switch the terms, D and A, the diagonal terms are switched, and the other terms above the diagonal and below the diagonal are remain the same, and it is multiplied with the minus sign. So minus B and minus C. A into B is a matrix, and then we take an inverse of it, then that will be equivalent to B inverse into A inverse. Then A transpose inverse will become A inverse and transpose. So you see, transpose and inverse are kind of interchangeable in terms of at least the properties. And A inverse of the inverse will always end up being the A matrix again. Eigenvalues and eigenvectors. Let us consider there is a matrix A of size n by n, and let us consider the vector equation A into x is equal to lambda into x. Understand, this is A is a matrix, x is a vector, column vector, lambda is a scalar, and x is a scalar. So what we are trying to say is, we can actually make the matrix A and multiply with the vector. We can write it in terms of a multiple of the same vector. So this is the most important or second most important thing that we need to deal with matrices. If there is a vector x and that can convert a matrix A, and which can be even written as its own multiple lambda. Lambda is just a number, so it's a multiple. So those vectors are called eigenvectors. That is a characteristic. That what we are trying to say is, it is the only vector which can transform that matrix A. So it will have a relationship with A. And that lambda, which is a scalar, is the eigenvalue. So we will have to find out how the vector x can be determined, right? For any given matrix A, how can we find out this vector x, and how can we find out the lambda, which is the eigenvalue? These eigenvector and eigenvalue can actually represent the matrix A. So that is the reason why we are trying to understand. So in other words, it's like writing the GPS coordinates of a person on Earth, right? So how do we find? So we know the vector equation Ax is equal to lambda times x. Then when we take lambda x to the left hand side, so it becomes Ax minus lambda x is 0. That means A, so we take the x vector common. So A is inside minus, we cannot say lambda. So lambda has to have a matrix because A is a matrix and lambda has to be a matrix. They have to be of the same class or category. So we have to multiply with an I vector, which is the identity vector, which is the vector which we saw earlier, 1 0 1 0 or 0 0 1 kind of thing. So then we are going to solve it to find out on the values. Okay, this is a homogeneous linear system, meaning all the right hand sides are 0. That's always a homogeneous equation, meaning it's only the variables, it's only multiplication of the variables, and there is no, and the constant, the addition, and there is no right hand side term. Okay, then it becomes a homogeneous equation. So how can we find lambda? So what we say is we can find out the lambda given the determinant of A minus lambda I is 0. So then we can find out the eigenvalues by solving the equation. Then for each lambda, there exists a vector x corresponding, and this is called the eigenvector. Right? So for an n by n matrix, there is going to be at least n number of lambdas. That means for a 3 by 3 matrix, there will be 3 lambdas. And for each lambda, there is going to be a vector, eigenvector. Solved examples. Let us assume there is a matrix A, which is having the constant 1, 3, 4, 7, and alpha is 5. Then find C, which is actually C times alpha. Also find the determinant of A. So what is C alpha? You have to multiply every term inside by the same alpha because that's a constant, that's a scalar. So when you multiply, then we will get 5, 15, 20, 35. Then when we take the determinant of A, 1, 3, 4 and 7, so we saw the rule, we multiply the diagonal minus the other diagonal. So 1 into 7 minus 3 into 4, which is minus 5. Then in the second solved example, let us assume the matrix is 1, 4, 7, 2, 5, 8, 3, 6, 9, and the matrix D is 1, 4, 2, 5, 3, 6. Then we have to find the multiplication. So like we said, it's a 3 by 3 matrix multiplied by a 3 row, 2 column matrix. So eventually what we should get? We should get the 3 by 2. Because the center 3 by 3 will get fused and left over is the 3 of the first matrix, which is 3 rows, and the column of the second matrix, which is the 2. So it will become 3 by 2. And the workout is given below. You can easily see how the numerals came out. Then going to the third example, let us assume an example. We have to minus 5, 2, 2 and minus 2. We have to find the eigenvalue and eigenvector. And let's say the determinant of A minus lambda I will become minus 5 minus lambda 2, 2 minus 2 minus lambda. You see the lambda gets input only along the diagonal because it will get multiplied with the identity matrix. So the lambdas will only come in the diagonal. Now when you put the values, you will get a quadratic equation, lambda square plus 7 lambda plus 6. Now you can find out the values of these roots of the equation because we have to equate it to 0 to find the eigenvalues. So now we will get minus 1 and minus 6. Then for each lambda, there is going to be an eigenvector. Okay. So this vector can be simply found out by substituting one of the eigenvalues back into the original equation. Ax is equal to lambda x. For example, we put minus 1, right? then we will put EAX. So if you substitute, you should get the same equation. Minus 5 into x1 plus 2x2 is equal to lambda x1. Then 2x1 minus 2x2 is equal to lambda x2. So if you put lambda is equal to minus 1, then you will find out that the vector corresponding is 1 and 2, a column vector. And for the other value of minus 6, you will find out the vector is 2, 1, minus 1.
Summary. What is matrix algebra? It is the representation of data in an array form. Why is it useful? Matrix algebra can solve simultaneous equations. It can help solve very complicated problems, and therefore it can help in understanding the physics of a problem. Thank you.